G major and a C shape, and the Aeolian, its relative minor. The only common sense thing that I can come up with as to why it's called a relative minor is because they're relatively the same. The Ionian's 4 is a major, and the Ionian's 5 is a major as well, whereas with the Aeolian, its 4 is a minor, and its 5 is a minor as well. So they're relatively the same, aren't they? If you use what things look like to be your guide, then how do you know that instead of that being a 1 and that being a 6, how do you know that that isn't a 4 and you aren't at its 6th, which isn't a relative minor because they're not relatively the same? So if that was the 4, that would be an Aeolian. Sorry, if that was the 4, that would be a Lydian, and that is a Dorian. Okay, now Lydian's 1 is the Lydian, its 4 is the Locrian, and its 5 is the Ionian, the 1 of the scale. But its 6 is the Dorian, and the Dorian's number 4 is the Mixolydian, and its 5 is the Aeolian. Right? But also, having said that, how do you know that that's not the Mixolydian? If you're just saying, look, this shape is this shape, I'm saying this shape isn't this shape is 3 other things. But if this is the Mixolydian, if this is G Mixolydian, it's the G in the key of C. And so the E minor is then going to be a Phrygian. And if the G is the Mixolydian, then the C major is the Ionian, is the 4 chord, and it's got a minor for a 5, the Dorian. And see how that just didn't match? And that's because of something that's really interesting is, for some reason, whenever you stop, the whole thing naturally resets itself and becomes an Ionian. Your ear will always listen for that, unless you know differently and choose. But most likely if you do these couple of chords here, yeah, but then you throw this one in, the minor 5 of the Mixolydian, it just doesn't sound right unless you know that it's coming up. So G major to E minor exists in 3 keys without getting into modified scales or other things. The G major to E minor in the key of G is the Ionian to the Aeolian. And the G major to the E minor, yeah, in the key of D is the Lydian to the Dorian. Sharp 4, Locrian, yeah, Dorian, down the Locrian, onto the Lydian, Dorian, Ionian, D major. Alright? And the G Mixolydian, which has the dominant 7, to E minor is in the key of C with an F and with a G and with an A Aeolian minor. So using shapes to define things in music is very limiting, and that's not so difficult to understand because music is about sound. And using shapes as a tool to teach you how to learn is effective, but shapes represent many different things, just depending on what key you're in. So if I say that's the Mixolydian and the 4 is the Ionian, at the moment that sounds all hunky-dory, but then the 5 is the Dorian. See, it's how it's not wanting to resolve. Here's your Ionian and here's your Dorian. Back to your Mixolydian. It won't settle. It will settle when I come onto the Ionian. There. The C major. And then what's the relative minor? How do you find your sixth? It's really, really easy. It's a minor third back. Then you've got a 1, 3, 5. Yeah? Octaves. 1, 3, 5 octaves. 1, 3. So C to A minor. There's an A minor there. A minor. A minor there. Yeah? Ionian. 4 is the Dorian. Now this is the Dorian 5, but if I said, hey, what about if this was the Ionian here? And I said, well then the Lydian, 1, 3, 5 Lydian, yeah, Mixolydian, 1, 3, 5. Now we've changed key. But they're all based on the idea that this shape is 3 different things. So the G to the E minor as a Dorian, D major, A Mixolydian. G Lydian, D Ionian. See how here it sounds like it's all over the place a bit? It's because it's mixing with your expectations of what you think should come next. Because if I go G to E minor now, and I put in a D major, the ear is going to pick up the most logical thing that should come next, which is the C. But even that doesn't work because we were in another key before anyhow. So you can see how expectations play well into what the listener hears. And then, if I say this G is an Aeolian, which is a minor, but I've had a raised third in it, which is the harmonic minor. Now this G has a minor 1, a major first, Aeolian. It has a Dorian as the 4, but a raised 7 on the Dorian, and the 5 is 1, 3, 5 Phrygian. So now you've got a G major to a minor 4 to a minor 5, back to the major 1. And you can just then go, well yeah, but I don't want to do that. I want that minor 5 in the Dorian position, which is back in the key of D, which gives you a B minor Aeolian. And now, if you saw the video I did, which you wouldn't have because no one saw it yet, but on how valuable are two notes. 1, 3, 1, 1, 3, 3, 1. D major. First, third, first, first, third, third, first, third. D major. First, third, first, third, third, first, third, first, third, first. And you can do that on the E minor, which is the Dorian. First, third, first, third, 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 first. Anyway, I mean, when you understand exactly what note you're at, then the shapes are relevant because you can build the whole scale around the note. If you understand that this is a Lydian, and there's a third and a fifth, and there's a fifth and a third, and that's a Lydian, and then that's a first, a third, a fifth, a first, a third, a fifth. It doesn't particularly matter what you're doing, you know. So it's G flat Lydian. But the interesting thing is I didn't press any notes that were actually Lydian because I only used 1, 3s and 5s, right? So more than likely that is going to be a G flat major Ionian. First, third, fifth, first, third, fifth, first, third, fifth, first. Yeah, onto the 4 chord. And it gets to a point where it just really doesn't matter what you do. But that's the difference between sitting around playing on your own or playing with a band, I guess. Key of A, G to A major. Key of D, sorry. Ionian, D major. A to G. B minor. To A. G. The interesting thing about G is it's the 4. So semitone down to the 3, which gives you the first inversion of the Ionian. So you've got Mixolydian, Lydian, down 1 note, and then you're going to have the first inversion of the Ionian. Yeah? And down 1 note, and you're going to have the first inversion of the Mixolydian. So here you've got G, 4, down to the 3rd, which forms the Ionian, And then you've got the Ionian as a C shape, root down 1, which gives you the third of the Mixolydian.